Hello, and welcome to another episode of the BigTime Strength Podcast. This is episode 154, and it's a crew chat. So Amanda and Miles are with us right now, and Gage is in the field still trying to get some beans or corn in. So we'll have to ask him. He said he might hop on later. So excited to get the show going. Before we get the show going, though, I want to say thank you to our sponsors. To our first sponsor, TeamBuildr. TeamBuildr has been with us from the very beginning, and this is a cool new script and an awesome discount along the way too. So this episode is brought to you by TeamBuildr. TeamBuildr is the software for strength and conditioning coaches. Join the thousands of coaches that log into TeamBuildr every day to write training programs, build questionnaires, and access and track athlete data. TeamBuildr is compatible with mobile devices, laptops, tablets, and TVs, which makes it the perfect software for any setting. If you sign up with code BigTime, you will receive a 25% discount on the sports science certification course. Build the foundational skills necessary to manage data and learn how to transform that data into actionable assets for your program. You will also receive a free 10-week summer football programming template, which works automatically within your TeamBuildr with your 14-day free trial. No more spreadsheets and workout cards to track training maxes that change day by day, especially during breaks. Head to teambuildr.com and sign up with code BigTime to save time and paper today. And there is a link in our show notes also that will pop that directly up, put the code in there for you, and give you that sports science certification course with it. So that's our TeamBuildr sponsor, and Amanda is going to intro and talk about our Powerlift sponsor.
All right, our next sponsor is Powerlift. Taking your athletic facility from concept to completion can be a challenge. At Powerlift, it's their goal to make the process as seamless as possible from start to finish. Their weight equipment is made with the toughest materials that can withstand excessive use from coaches and athletes. It's sought after for its unique design and customizable appearance, its affordability, and their superior warranty that training facilities want and need. Their weight rooms are designed with the athlete in mind, and they pride themselves on the ability to outfit athletic facilities based on teams' unique goals. That's why high schools, colleges, universities, professional sports teams, and athletic performance facilities around the world have chosen Powerlift to help maximize their strength training facilities. Make sure to give them a call today to be contacted by a rep in your area, and also give a follow on social media. They have Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and see for yourself why their clients are Powerlift proud. Excellent. Thank you to our sponsors. How is our week going?
Things are going well. I like it actually to feel warm. I mean, it's super hot here in Iowa, but the changing of weather has stirred our kids.
Yes.
So kind of getting a little wild, but I like it. I'm a PE teacher, so I'm all for getting wild, I guess.
Yeah,
how about you, Miles?
Yeah, same. It felt like everybody was kind of in that lull that you get into late in winter, and it just continued on and on and on until this last week. And now, like I said, all of our kids seem to be perked up a little bit. I know my mood has improved tremendously. And this is our last week of training with our athletes. So we've been doing some fun stuff, and everybody seems to be enjoying themselves to kind of make this final push towards the end of the year. So.
Yeah, I think being in the weight room and being a physical education teacher, the spring is the best time of the year. Sometimes the other teachers are probably like, oh, the kids are wild, but I love the spring. We have actually had a very long spring. So I remember thinking a week ago, it's going to be warm. 1 week from now, it's going to be warm, and it is. So it's been very enjoyable.
That's awesome. It's nice when there's not snow on the ground up in Minnesota, right?
It was on the ground late this year. Up north, there's still some spots, and we're into May right now.
That's awesome. Well, we're going to hop into some questions, and all of them are somewhat related to kind of just the end of the year, start of the summer type of time. Hopefully this catches people at a good time where they can kind of do an assessment of how they wrap up the year and what it looks like for their summer programming and what that looks like. So I'm going to start out with my question, then we'll just go around the horn and and answer these, and we'll just keep on moving that way. So my question, what do you do for training at the end of the school year? So what does that look like? And then my second question, you don't have to answer it right now, or if you want to just do both of them at the same time. How do you prep for summer training? So basically, how are we finishing up kind of the school year? And then once we get out of school's done, classes are out, what's it look like for summer training? So whoever wants to take that one away.
I can head into this one first. So end of the year training, it is definitely our smallest group for off-season athletes. So I also use it as a little bit of, as a strength coach, kind of my days as well. So we have a coach who does training we train Monday, Wednesday, Friday for off-season athletes. And usually right now I'm usually getting about 6 to 12, honestly. So many are in sports in the spring. We have a big track team. And so other coaches are running the weight room on Wednesdays and Fridays. And I'm taking a little bit of a break here and there. My kids are in sports, their own sports. So I'm getting to watch a little bit of them. And spring is the time to do it for me. As far as training goes, our sports teams are still in the heat of it. We know the variables with spring sports, right? We have to keep things short and sweet. So our spring sports are doing 1 hour session a week and then 1 half-hour session. A little bit shorter than the rest of the year. And so far, it's been working pretty good. They train on Monday mornings a lot of times and then Wednesday after practice. And hopefully they don't get caught on game days with that. So summer training then now is just kind of the stir in the pot, getting things excited, because it's kind of hard because you want to finish up and then get things excited for summer training. So I can tell the kids they get a reset this time of year, and we have, our football program really drives our summer training as far as numbers, and our football team was very successful last year, and so they know they need to be in the weight room. So that part helps a little bit, just having the great conversations of what kids are doing for the summer. But I'd be anxious to hear from you in the high school setting. Are kids working a lot more than they used to? I feel like kids have full-time jobs, and finding time for them to train has been really hard. So we've opted to go with a 5:30 to 6:30 in the morning, but I'm still running into kids are having a hard time getting there.
Yeah. From the very beginning, we implemented kind of like this, oh, you got to work. Okay, we'll go super early type of thing. And it's used to be 6 years ago, it wasn't that highly attended, maybe 20 kids out of all the kids that would come to camp. And now it's one of our larger groups. Yeah. So I think that plays into it. I think even the kids though, that come at our later sessions, they still work. Yeah, a lot of our kids are working, no doubt. And it's really funny, like when there's labor shortages and all this type of stuff, I'm just thinking our kids are getting after it. So I don't know. I heard like a lot of people whining like with kids these days or something like that. I'm just like, I don't know. All of our kids are juggling school, sports, and working and doing a great job of it. So yeah, definitely our early session is becoming well attended. Yeah. Oh, how about you, Miles? What you got, man?
Yeah. So for us, kind of finishing up the year, with our out of season teams, I like to use it as a time to kind of assess, the progress that we made over the course of our spring off season time. So for, football, volleyball, our soccer teams, wrestling, women's basketball, men's basketball, we like to, we'll do some max testing. We're generally timing sprints and jumps and stuff like that on a pretty regular basis all the way throughout the year. But we usually like to do that. In the past, I'd always tried to do it the week before finals, which is typically kind of our last week of training. What I've started to notice and recognize with our athletes is that's maybe the worst time of the year to do it, because their stress levels from school are at an all-time high. So I was getting a lot of kids that were coming in with next to no sleep. You can tell they're just run down, stressed out, and then their testing kind of reflected that. So we moved that up a little bit this year, where we were doing it not this week, but last week. So this week here has been, we've had some teams that have backed off of being in the weight room altogether. And we've got some others that are still coming in and training, but we're doing some more fun stuff with them. I mean, our women's basketball team, we just warmed up and played handball today. So just try to do some fun stuff to kind of wrap up the year. And then for our in-season teams, our tennis teams, track, baseball, softball, I probably was borderline under training them this year. I mean, we were doing 2 30 to 40 minute sessions a week with those teams in season. Really, really low volume type training. And I think I really liked it. I feel like we've been very healthy and the kids have been fresh, kind of going into their championship season here. So definitely scaled it back more than we probably ever have, but it seemed to work out. They seem to be feeling pretty good. And even for like baseball and softball, as they got closer to their conference tournament, we were going down to 1 day a week and like 1 to 45 minute session a week, just because with the weather the way that it's been in the Midwest this time of year, we had all kinds of games that were getting postponed and pushed back early in the season. So we had some situations where we were having athletes playing 6+ baseball, softball games a week. So we decided to kind of pull back what we were doing with them a little bit and let them focus on the baseball. But so that's been good. And we kind of use that time to set up for our summer training as well, because at the Division III model, we don't get to have hands-on with any of our athletes training over the course of the summer. So, this is going to be the last time that I'll see a lot of these athletes for, 2 to 3 months. So trying to get accurate training maxes and stuff like that, and trying to lay a good foundation for these guys, kind of setting expectations for their summer training, kind of using this time to do that and talk them through some of that stuff as well. So, and then, this year we're on TeamBuildr. We just got started working with TeamBuildr in January at Luther. And that's going to be huge. I can already tell it's decreased my stress level this time of year tremendously, because I used to have my 3 months worth of summer training finished in about April, so I could get stuff to the print shop and have all my manuals and everything printed out, so I could hand it off to our athletes that last week that they were training. And this year we'll be able to kind of update that as they go through the summer, and they're going to have access to exercise demos and no more hyperlinking, our YouTube page to Excel sheets that we're sending out. So that's been really good too. And I think our athletes are pretty excited that they're going to have access to that technology all the way through the summer as well. So.
Yeah, I didn't think about that with TeamBuildr, or not having TeamBuildr, that right now would be your stressful time getting out.
It was always, and it always snuck up on me. Like I'd get into the stretch of, kind of heavy off-season training with a lot of our winter and fall sports, and, trying to think about how we want to finish out the year with that. And I was like, well, I kind of have to have that done early so that I can get my head screwed on for the summer stuff. And that's just usually not where my mind is at in, late March. But it needed to be, because we'd have to get all that stuff done, and then we'd have to run through our exercise pool and make sure we had exercise videos uploaded to YouTube and everything, so that they could see what they're doing whenever they're away from us. And it's been a major stress reliever for me this year. So that's been really nice. Another plug for our awesome sponsor TeamBuildr. But yeah, it's been great. So
I bet the messaging will be very helpful to you as well.
Yeah.
This summer, being able to check in with kids and even just saying, how's it going? And they get to hear from you that you care what they're doing.
Absolutely. And getting feedback too. You can write out 3 months worth of training and it can look really awesome. on paper, but you don't know because you're not getting to talk to them. So just being able to get some feedback from them on any questionnaires or anything that we can throw in there as well to see if we're pushing them too hard, if they're getting run down, maybe we need to pivot and make some changes to the plan midway through. And it's not an option that we've had in the past, but hopefully we'll be able to get that up and going a little bit this year. So
great. How about you, Preston?
Well, to finish up the year, training wise, this is like our last week of training, and then next week we'll test, and then the week after is our last week of school, and that'll kind of just be like a game week. We'll just literally play games every session, every class, and then after that we'll have one off week, kind of just giving them a break after school gets done, and then we'll get started the following week with summer training. So I'm super pumped for that. I'm gearing up kind of like Miles is talking about, just getting ready to rock and roll with programming and all that type of stuff. And I love this time of year. I love spring sports, getting into championship season. I like how the weather changes, and I really like getting ready for summer, because summer is I honestly train more kids during the summer, during a block of time, and less time is what I'm trying to say. So more kids come through the door in less time, because we're so efficient. We have so many coaches, and we have no conflicts with the bell schedule or anything at school. It's just okay, we're here and we're going to get our training done. And I love it. I think that's so fun. And then it allows us to go have the rest of the day off, go hang out with family, go get other things done, get the honey-do list done that has been neglected during the school year. And then we even do 3-day weekends too. We go Monday through Thursday. So then we take Friday, Saturday, Sunday off, and it just makes it feel like a summer. So I really enjoy that. And I think our kids do too. So yeah, that's kind of my spiel of the last little bit, and then into summer. I think, Miles, did you have the next question?
Yeah. So mine kind of picks up where we leave off with this question. And as we start looking towards summer training, I've been kind of pumping out my, incoming freshman training protocols, or whatever you want to call them. Coaches are always asking for that for their new incoming freshmen, and they're always really eager to get a hold of their college weight program or whatever. So I was just curious what that onboarding process looks like for you guys. If you've got 8th graders coming into your system for the first time, do you do any assessments before you throw them into training? What is that first month, 2 months of training look like for you guys whenever you get a new freshman or a kid that moves in that's never trained with you before?
Amanda, you want to take that one first?
Sure. Well, I'm going to tell you first what I want it to look like, because I've been envisioning adding in a leveling system for about 10 of my 16 years. Preston, you saw once when I picked your brain about it, and I've been trying for systems. And I think I got it. I think this summer will be the first one where I got everything named. It'll be our charge up group, which we already have a charge up group, but this will be the level that they're in. And all the movements will be very similar to the levels following. So the 9th graders, 10th graders, but things will be something that they could do simply and still get results and not have to just nitpick their technique. So, I'll give you an example: goblet squat stuff, landing in a squat stance, snap downs. What else? Dumbbells with the bench press, kettlebell swings. And then I introduced the trap bar deadlift as my favorite lift to introduce early to kids, because it feels, usually we can get, once they understand how their back should be, things work out well, and then we can get them to lift heavy weight and feel good with it. And then an important aspect on our end that I've had previously is light bars and big weights. So big, we even have 5-pound bumper plates. So we start everything with 15-pound bars and 5-pound bumper plates. And it's a lot of fun to watch them. That usually with our, junior high to once they move into 9th grade, they start getting the 45. But so simple movements, and we're leveling it out this year. We're going to have a charge up, and then hopefully they can move on about 9th grade, middle of 9th grade, and then they can move up 10th grade, and then we would just have a level for our elite moving on to college athletes.
I think that's awesome. That's great. I want to learn more about that, actually. So, so for me, incoming 8th graders are shoved right into the upper level, like everybody else. They move right into high school, and I love it because our older athletes know what their job is. Their job is to mentor the young kids and not only help them in the weight room, like with technique, or get them through drills when we're doing speed training and that type of stuff, but like also become their friend, also like, continue on a culture. So I love having them in the same room, same workout, that type of stuff. None of my workouts are like, oh my gosh, that's so complex or anything like that. During the summer, I try to do similar to what Amanda does, is have exercises that upper level athletes can load heavy, and lower level athletes, as far as like experience or whatever that is, can still perform proficiently. And the only change that we do is we just change the load, right? And I love that, because that is how we start every semester of every school year. Just like that is how we intro, and then we progress. So it doesn't matter if you're a freshman or if you're a senior. At the beginning, like our first cycle is general exercise. Like we're getting back into this. So even if you think you're the biggest, baddest 12th grader walking the halls, we're still going to start at the beginning again. And the reason I do that is because I think when coaches say they like to slow cook people, they say it, but they don't do it. And for me, I'm trying to put my money where my mouth is and say, you know what, I believe in slow cooking, and we're going to do it over and over and over, because you can be proficient at trap bar deadlift. Like Amanda was saying, an 8th grader going into 9th grade can become proficient, and you can have a 12th grader that's moving a ton of weight and still use the similar exercise. So if that makes sense. As far as movement screens and stuff like that, we don't use any like movement screens for incoming 8th graders or for anybody really. I think, and there's two sides to every issue. I land on the side of, if I'm watching them training, if I'm watching them push, pull, squat, hinge, carry, sprint, jump, throw, all these things, right? All these general categories. If I'm watching them, I can see where their deficiencies are, and I can see what they need to do a little bit more of. And the way that we're a developmental program all the way through, like even our upper level kids, they're going to be working on these things still, like show me a high schooler that doesn't have a weak posterior chain, top to bottom, show me one that doesn't. And be like, okay, maybe there's like a handful. So everybody's going to get that extra work. Everybody's going to get extra pulls. Everybody's going to extra, these things. So, I get excited about talking about it, because I think everybody likes to complicate training, and I'm all for getting like all the bells and whistles, but probably starting, I don't know, it's like a couple of years past like learning at Mount Vernon, I'm like, oh, I'm going to do all these different things. And then I realized, like these 14 through 18 year olds, they don't need all these things. They need just good training.
Yeah, I really like that you're just throwing those freshmen right in with the upperclassmen. That's something that I felt like this last year I was really able to do that, like especially with my football group when they got in the fall. We had a ton of freshmen, and I didn't really have to slow things down much, because I essentially assigned 2 upperclassmen to every new freshman that we had come in, and I told them that I was holding them personally responsible for the way that their freshman was training. And it was awesome, like just seeing those guys get to interact with one another, seeing some of those juniors and seniors that have been, in the program for a few years now, like they know they've heard me say the same 5 cues a million times. So they can jump right in and make a bunch of those adjustments without me even having to do it. It sped up my process from just like an exercise demonstration point. Like instead of me sitting down and demoing all 8 exercises that we have for the day, I might demo like our 2 main movements. And then I told our upperclassmen like, hey, it's up to you to demo the rest of the stuff for your freshmen and make sure that they're doing it right. And then I could kind of float the room. And, you know, if they were really struggling to get a kid lined out, I could bump over and help them. But for the most part, our upperclassmen really latched onto that. And yeah, so I think that's cool that you're doing that too, because it just kind of feeds the culture of accountability and, you know, camaraderie and stuff that you want to build in the weight room. So I think that's awesome. You know, for me, my typical like first 2 to 3 weeks of training that I just start this way when we get back in the fall, because I assume that about 20% of my athletes did a really, really good job of training over the summer, didn't miss a session, got extra work, all this. I assume about 50 to 60% either made most of them or kind of did it, you know, with lackluster effort, but they were showing up and putting in the work. And then I figure at least 20% didn't do a thing that I scheduled all summer. So I just go in with the assumption that not everybody is going to be ready to jump right back into high level training. And so I make everybody do a very basic, similar structure. And it kind of was born out of necessity during COVID. I was trying to figure out how to train kids spaced, you know, 10 feet apart. And we had all of our kids sectioned off into pods where they could only interact with like 5 or 6 kids that were within their pod. And we had to keep them all separate. And, you know, we had to sanitize equipment and wait 15 minutes before they could move to the next thing. So I had to kind of get, you know, 5 or 6 of them on a rack and figure out how to not make them move throughout the room for the rest of the day. And so what I kind of settled on was, I don't know if you guys have read Zach Dakent's Movement Over Maxes, but I essentially stole his, you know, Big 5 movement patterns and his ISO core, ISO split squat series, and just paired all that stuff into like to big trisets. And even if it's you know, even if it's a senior coming back that, you know, can squat, you know, 300-400 pounds, you know, we'll have them run through a circuit of goblet squats, ring rows, you know, planks, and do it in a circuit fashion and do it on a clock and get their heart rate up and build a little work capacity. And for the young kids, it was an opportunity to groove some really basic movement patterns. And, you know, again, gives me the opportunity to coach some of that stuff up. And then we'd run the exact same workout 3 to 4 days a week. So the loads were light enough that we could just keep running the same thing over and over again. And over the course of 2 to 3 weeks, their work capacity shot up and movement quality looked a lot better. And then we could kind of jump back into what I would consider my more normal, regular programming. And I really liked that in the COVID year, and I kind of kept it and held it over moving into this last year. And we'll probably continue to do that next fall when we get kids back. So
I think that's a smart way to go. I mean, it really is. And you can see real quick who's put in some work and who hasn't, because if your work capacity is horrible, it's like, well, you probably didn't do anything.
Yeah, it's pretty dead giveaway.
What's that?
It's a pretty dead giveaway.
Yeah, absolutely. Or their sessions were like 3 hours long and got on their cell phones, you know, 20 times in between, you know. So no, I think that's great. I wanted to recap or go back to the freshman or the 8th grader going in to be a freshman with the rest of sometimes our kids get it, they love it. I'm talking about the older kids. They get it, they love it. Sometimes the feedback I get is, man, they slow us down way too much. They being the 8th graders going to be freshmen. So this year we're going to toy around with week number 1. We're going to do the mentor thing. Week number 2, the mentors will be at a rack next to the youngsters, but they can keep going. And we'll just make sure that the older coaches or the other coaches are next to the younger people more so. And then week 3, they'll go back. So it's basically just going back and forth. Because I had like 6 or 7 seniors that are like, man, I totally get why you're doing it, but I would love just to not have to worry and just train hard. And I'm like, I get it. So we met in the middle on that.
Good on you for taking some feedback. And that shows they trust you by being able to ask you for something different.
Side note with that, I ask them stupid questions every single day. So like today was like, what's your favorite make of car? And so like they get super comfortable with just talking. And so then when I ask them one that's important, a question that they're like, oh yeah, this is something that they've talked to me enough that they're okay with whatever, they're okay with telling me something that, could hurt my feelings. Cause I always try to make sure that and because I've really focused on this, that I don't have any response that's going to be like, that deters them from giving me the feedback that they feel like they should be giving me. So side note, but like, I think being intentional with that over time has led to be able to allow them to actually say stuff, which is good. It hurts me sometimes, but it's good.
Yes, that's true. But it shows trust.
Yeah, we've actually done something very similar, and it's something I used to do kind of on and off just to get the athletes talking if they didn't have a lot of energy when they came in the room or something like that, just to get them interacting with one another. But we've gone to where we have like a question of the day that we start every single session with, and our athletes absolutely love it. Like,
what if we ever forget one? What if you?
They absolutely come unglued. They are so upset. I mean, because there are sometimes like once you've asked so many questions, it's like it's hard to come up with one just on the spot that they haven't already done. And if you do it with 8 different teams, you never know. I try to keep a general theme of ask the same question to them, but it doesn't always work. So yeah, they will let you know if you don't ask them.
Here's 2 hacks. Okay. Going into a weekend and coming off the weekend. What are you looking forward to this weekend? And then coming off the weekend, what was the funnest thing? What's something that you really enjoyed this past weekend? Those are easy. So you got Mondays and Fridays taken care of, right?
You got to be careful with college kids on that one though. coming off the weekend, it can get a little dicey.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. Different age groups. I got that. Okay. So disregard that one. The other one is question of the day is what are awesome questions of the day? And then you bring a note card around with you and you just write them down. Cause I'm at that point too, man, where I'm like, man, I can't think of anything else. Like, do you wad your toilet paper or fold it? Like I can only ask that, once a year. You can't do that every other day.
Yeah, that's what I've started doing too. It's like if I don't have one, I'll just say, okay, well, one of you give me one. And almost immediately one of the kids has one. So that's worked pretty good. But it does it. And I always make sure to answer the question too. Right. And so with like our really big groups, I'll just put them in, I'll tell them to turn and talk to a partner and answer the question and they can just talk about it. But with some of my smaller teams, if I only have 15 to 20 kids in the room, we'll just stand everybody in a circle and we'll just go around the room and everybody gets their moment to answer it. And I always make sure I do too. And I try to be as like honest and real with them as I can while being appropriate, and it kind of gives them a little insight to me and what's going on in my life and stuff I'm into. And you can kind of make connections with kids that way. And yeah, they do. It seems to be I think if you just stepped in and watched a session for the first time, you're like, why are they wasting their time with something off the wall like that? But it really does seem to have a lot of value in getting them to kind of tear down some of those walls and just building the relationship so that once they have something important to say, they're more than willing to share it. So yeah, that's been a cool thing that I kind of stumbled across. I think I stole that from Gage actually a little bit. We used to do that on occasion. And but yeah, our athletes have really latched on to it now in like the last year and a half.
Yep. That's awesome. Time well spent. Yeah. Don't ever let anybody talk you out of that.
Absolutely. Oh, I never will. It's great.
All right, Amanda, what's your question for us?
I'm going to stick with the same theme of end of the year. This is always kind of my stressful time, and I love it once we get done with it. But what are some end of the season either celebrations, awards. I'll give an example. We do a breakfast banquet at the end of the year, and we celebrate who has earned 60 letters or 60 sessions throughout the year, which is equivalent to twice a week for the whole school year. We celebrate awards. We have like a heavy metal club where I'll give out bricks, and a gold club. So I spend my weekends painting bricks and writing on numbers as their trophies, and then, awards that the kids pick. So it's a lot of fun. It turns into a lot of work, but it's rewarding. But what do you do? Do you give t-shirts out? Do you have any end of the season things? End of the things, rather.
Yeah. We're not that fun, I guess. Man, that's really cool that you do all that. Here's what we do. We'll do testing week next week. And during the course of the semester, I'll do tests throughout the semester, like 1 or 2 of them per week. So it's not ever a testing week. It's just like getting some of these KPIs, these marks along the way. But at the end, we'll do a testing week, and everybody looks forward to it. And then that's kind of like the only award type thing that we do, because it's just seeing the fruits of their labor, paying that off, like all that hard work paying off. And then we have like a horsepower report where it'll show their KPIs and give them a level based off a level system thing that we use now. And so that's fun, but it's not as cool as like an awards banquet. I am working with our athletic director. I want to do at Northwest Missouri State, we did the Catspies. It was like a knockoff of the ESPYs. And at Mizzou, when I interned at Mizzou, they had the Roars, which, like, I don't know what that would be the equivalent to, but it's like the Grammys or whatever. So I want to do a spring banquet award ceremony with all sports, not just like a weightlifting thing, but weightlifting would have an award there too. And so like this Catspies or ESPYs, I'm trying to think what it would be for a Mustang. I have no idea. That's on our list of things that we want to get implemented and started. So that's fun. And then, but not a real thing yet. And then during the summers, we do Feed the Stampede. And that is for everybody that made the horsepower club. They get to go to this Feed the Stampede type of celebration at the end of camp, which we used to call a summer training camp. And so it's a big, long summer camp. And I stole that directly from Ross Suizo down at Base or Linwood. They do the Beast Feast at the end of their summer. And kids love it and eat a lot of food and help me clean up camp and call it good. So yeah, that's the extent of what we do.
You do that right at the end of summer?
Yeah, right at the very end. So after our last session, so everybody in the whole camp works out together during the last session. So we just put together as many stations as we need to accommodate for the amount of kids that we have. Work out for about an hour or so. And then if you made the horsepower club, you stick around and you get the horsepower t-shirt that you earn throughout the summer for attendance, and then stick around for the feast too, or the Feed the Stampede is what we call it. But the kids that didn't make it, it's just like, all right, see ya. Which at the same, like, I kind of want that too. Like I want to have some closure where everybody works out together, but then you kind of see the two paths diverge a little bit, where the people that did what they're, really were trying to do, and the kids that didn't. So that's just one of those things I try to put out there.
I like it. I tried to do one last year and I did not follow through with it of 100%. We actually had a lot of kids. I'm like, I just don't know where to buy the food, what to do. So
we do a breakfast, and we just get a bunch of we used to do I think it's hamburgers and hot dogs and different things, and now we do a breakfast, and it's Casey's Pizzas, just a bunch of breakfast pizzas, and we did pancakes. So super simple, can do a lot of food, and for fairly cost effective, and kids love it, right? Because we're doing it in the morning, so it's breakfast time anyway, so they just have a big breakfast after they're done training.
That's what we do, and I give them to everybody. I'm going to stop that right now. Stop giving pancakes to everybody at the end of the year. I like it. That helps. See, we learn all the time. Well, could I do our finisher today? I had something that somebody asked me today, and I thought it was good.
Yeah, you bet. Go for it.
We see Gage here. We see a black screen, and we saw the top of a barn. And that's the last we've seen of him, right? So Gage, if you're on, maybe you could do our last one with us. But I just got off. I'm actually on the play mentorship right now, and it's going well. It's 20 weeks long, so it is nice to have a group of people that you go through with 20 weeks. But and one of the questions tonight, we talked some tough, high-level stuff, I think, and one of them was, what is something new this week that you've learned? So that's my ender question for you, and it could be training related. It could be I do have to give you an answer. What we talked about today. One of the coaches talked about his female coach said, I learned something for the first time I've ever learned. I had some girls today that could not do sprints at the end of their workout, and he said, well, how come? He said, because their spray tans will run. And I'm like, yes, that's actually true. And so it was something that he had learned. So kind of funny for a reason of not being able to do it. But it's prom season, dance season. So how about on your end?
Yeah, that's good. I'm just trying to think through. So I've read a couple articles here recently, and it's all been related to RSI. So who got me originally started down this path was Rich Burnett, and now we have his plyomat, and what it looks like to implement that and then actually have some outcomes that from the testing data that actually affect our athletes is where I'm at right now. So I can't say like, man, I've learned this specific thing or whatever, but it's just like this whole scope of RSI. And today I got a presentation from Adam Vogel. I'm super excited to dive into just looking at the force velocity curve and how they use their 10-5 RSI testing, and then what outcomes or what they'll do based off of the results that they get from a pretty, like this, based off their force velocity curves that they put together, or their force velocity profiles that they put together. So that's kind of like the nerdy thing that I'm learning about right now. I don't know if there's like one thing I can put my finger on though.
Okay, that counts. Diving in, learning some new stuff.
Yeah, for me, I learned that I need to be playing more games with my athletes throughout the year, because a lot of times we save like this last session or whatever for them to have some fun and play a game. And we had, like I said, our women's basketball team playing handball today, and just watching the excitement and watching the competitive nature come out in them, and watching them accelerate, decelerate, cut, change direction, have to track a ball through the air, problem solve. I was like, man, why am I not doing this all the way through the year? Like I could very easily once a week sub out one of the kind of boring standard, warm-ups and preps that we do, and find ways to introduce more play and more games into their sessions. And like I said, I think engagement will go up. I think there's a lot of really good things happening that we can't coach when they're doing that kind of stuff. And yeah, I've thought that before. I've thought it in the past, but it really just kind of hit me again today. Like, yeah, I need to be doing that more.
I love it. PE never stops, man.
Nope, never stops. Do you train in the morning, Miles, with any of your sports teams?
Yep. We usually have pretty much every team's going to have at least one morning session. And we'll have some that pretty much train exclusively in the mornings. So
those are the days that I do competitive stuff, just to get them starting to smile, waking up, because it's, you could easily walk in with the grind, and a little bit of competition kind of helps.
Yeah, goes a long way.
It goes a long way. Good. I am really learning right now, every day something new. We have a new athletic trainer at our school, and in a smaller school in Minnesota, an athletic trainer is there maybe 1 or 2 days a week, and it's a revolving door of young people because we're probably the farthest out. And we actually have an athletic trainer who's older. He's been training for 30 plus years as an athletic trainer, and and they're 3 days a week now, and just really diving into our school and the movement assessments that he does with kids to be able to find weaknesses is shocking to me. You know, it's just way above and beyond what I could ever think of from this. You know, we come at it from our strength and conditioning side, and I'm learning a lot from him. He's letting me, you know, kind of watch what goes on, ask the athletes if they're okay if I'm there. And I've just been looking at strength and conditioning through a different lens.
That's awesome. Always fun to learn.
Always
right?
fun to learn. Yes, it is. Well, I hope the end of the school year finishes good and we move into summer, just like other coaches out there right now. But it's definitely been a great season, a great year. Miles, you're hitting the 1 year mark pretty soon here.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Pretty exciting. Well, good. Anything else for any of our listeners? We'll give Gage one more shot. He must be intently listening.
Yeah, must. All right. Well, thank you.
I'm here. Sorry.
Oh, he's here. He dives in right at the last
Saving
second.
the day. Look at that.
You better have a good ender today.
Okay. I have been listening to every word, actually.
Oh.
How's my audio?
It's fine.
Okay.
Sounds like you're in a barn.
I've learned a lot. So, one, listening to you guys, already knew this, but you guys are awesome coaches. Took a lot from just kind of what you guys do at the end of the season with your athletes is very cool. What I'm learning personally right now is just what makes like younger athletes laugh. So I'm working a lot of like middle schoolers and stuff right now, which, I spent the majority of my career working with college age kids. And I like to think that I use my sense of humor a little bit to kind of help with the coaching and stuff with them and lighten up the mood a little bit, but keep them on their toes. And a lot of the jokes I would use with college kids don't work. I find with the middle schoolers, it's different. So learning a lot about that, which is fun. And learning a lot about, we are in the process. Actually, what I'm doing right now is I'm getting turf in my facility tomorrow. And I have to set the rubber flooring before they get here. So I'm learning a lot about just like contractors and stuff you have to do to build a facility, which is fun. But no, you guys had a great episode. Yeah, I enjoyed listening to it.
Well, thanks for hopping on, Gage. That's awesome.
Yeah, you bet. I'm glad I could contribute.
Love it. Well, thank you to the listeners. Thank you for the opportunity just to continue with this show and keep on making the big time where you're at.
All right. Have a great week.